Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hi, Nolu. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm good. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay. So I went to vets with you. I studied chemical engineering.
Yeah.
I decided late in my career in chemical engineering, it's not really what I wanted to do. And so I decided to venture into banking. I'm currently doing sales and trading at an international bank at the moment. Yeah. Yeah.
And how did you venture into, because most people obviously have this idea that if you studied something, that's the only thing
Yeah.
that you can go into. So
Yeah.
how did you apply? What was the process like?
Yeah.
And why did you decide on banking?
Yeah. So for me, the one thing I wanted was something that is as challenging as engineering. So I didn't want something that was going to be monotonous. I wanted my days to, be filled with different stuff and different challenges per se. So for me, I felt financial market is where every day you never know what's going to happen. Every day is a surprise. No one
Yeah.
exactly knows what happens in financial markets. It's this big anomaly that we all sit and we try and rationalize. So I think for me, financial markets was just this big gray area that I thought to myself, I'm really going to be challenged if I go into the space. And also, it was one of those spaces where I didn't necessarily need that background. Oh gosh.
Your screen,
Can you
yeah.
still
Oh,
see
yeah.
this?
I can see. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was one of those things where you don't really need to have studied it to understand it, because most of it is what's happening in the world around you. So yeah, that's why I decided that is because that the main reason I decided to do chemical engineering in the first place was for the challenge, right? So I
Yeah.
wanted something that equally also going to use those skills that I learned in engineering, being analytical, being able to reason, and actually do that on a daily basis. Yeah.
And then how did you take me through the interview process, or like how
Yeah,
you
the
applied?
interview process. Yeah, so the interview process. Luckily for me, the thing that I wanted to do wanted people in my space in engineering, economics, physics. It didn't really matter as long as you had those skills. So already I ticked that box because it was something that but I always feel like people shouldn't be boxed in, but what's written. We only want someone with a finance background. Shoot your shot, man. Shoot your shot. If you really feel like, for me now, I feel like I don't have to have had a finance background in the sense of a formal degree to apply for a job in finance. So it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to be boxed in, as you said, with what you studied, and also in the application process being like, no, they didn't mention my degree, so I can't apply for this. Shoot your shot. If you have the
Yeah.
skills, if you have the marks, if you know you can back it up, come and interview, try, really try. It won't hurt. Yeah.
So wait.
So
Yeah. No, Karen.
so my interview process was kind of strenuous, because I think it was like a 7-step process,
Shoot.
because we had to do it was a couple of tests. So it was a numerical test. It was what other tests did we do? We did literacy, psychometric, all those psychometric things, just to see if you
You,
are
yeah,
a
here
fit
you are. Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
that regard. And then from there, then they invite you into an HR interview. So HR interview is baseline, just to see if you are a fit for the company now. Do your values match? Do you know exactly what you're getting yourself into? So basically, that was the first interview I did. And then the second one I did was with the team. So I got interviewed by 2 members of my team that I'll be working with. Also, they were trying to see if I understood what the product that I was getting myself into, because they asked you like some like tricky questions just to trip you up and see if you did your research. You didn't just come here and say, "Oh, I think this is a great company, so I want to work here." You actually sat down and understood what the team does and why this team specifically. So I think that's the one thing they wanted to drill down on. So research is important, especially in these spaces, like these corporate spaces. They want to know you didn't just send out your CV to like 50 different companies and just hope one will catch. They want to know you wanted specifically to join their team because you understood what they did. And then the last one I did was with the different heads of the financial market space. So for them, I think they were also wanting to see like, we're going to be paying this person. Is she actually bringing something to the table? So it wasn't anything technical. It wasn't anything, about the company. It was literally, we want to get to know you and we want to see who you are and are you actually worth it? And at that point, it's your time to shine. So yeah, I think I enjoyed that one the most because they want to know me, Noluthando. What do you bring? Like, why you? So yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And is it a permanent position or is it a graduate position? What kind of position is it?
Yeah. So it's a graduate position. However, it is kind of a permanent position. The graduate program itself is 18 months, of which 12 of those months. Okay, so one portion of it is spent in training, and then you spend you do like 4-month rotation, so 4 rotations in different spaces around what you are working you want to be doing later when you actually are in your permanent position. I use permanent because there's permanent in the sense that like you have a fixed term contract, because you get other graduate programs that are fixed term contracts where it's only those 12 months.
Yes.
And after that 12 months, there may or may not be a permanent position after that.
Yes.
So with the company that I was with, it's the 18 months that is allocated to your graduate program is purely about your learning. It's about your rotations. It's about your training. And then in the last 6 months of it, you're stationed where you're going to be permanent.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So in your program, they take on everyone permanently, or have you ever had a situation where someone doesn't get taken on?
They take on everybody permanently. The contract itself is permanent. However, sometimes it takes longer to place because of the word called headcount. So you might want to be in a specific team, but that team doesn't have headcounts at the moment. So you still are in the graduate program longer than 18 months. Waiting for there to be a position in that specific team. So it's not like after the 18 months, like what happens now?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then in terms of your preparation for, you've spoken about how you researched. What kind of research did you do? Where did you research? Because I think some people may not necessarily know.
Yeah. The company website is a great place to start. So look out for their media releases. So you know exactly what are they busy marketing at the moment, or is the hot topic in the office right now. Also, social media. A lot of companies are branching into social media. What's happening will probably be on their social media page, their YouTube pages. When I was looking at the graduate program I'm in now, I think YouTube really helped because it is an international bank. Their social media presence was amazing. You could find out exactly from other graduates that have been in the program what to expect, because they had interviews and things like that. So dive into that, dive into it, tap into other people's experiences, and then on a more technical level, obviously their what you call this, their site will be a great tool. Deep dive into it, because also when I was doing my research, at face value, on the face of it,
Of things,
face level,
yeah.
yeah, the face,
Yes.
it it looked like, you know, there wasn't going to be much information until you actually deep dive into things that were posted a long time ago, and you really get to like the really meaty stuff that if you bring up in your interview, they go,
Yeah.
oh, were you paying attention to that, you know? Yeah.
Okay, that
So
makes sense.
research, write it down, try and remember the points that you think are golden that you have to mention. Yeah.
And where would you advise people find opportunities like these, you know?
Yeah. Firstly, LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn is one thing that helped me when I was doing my search, because it not only just, you don't only just see a position, but you also see the company's profile. You sift now, is this actually what I want to go into? And you're not just looking at the position itself. I don't know if you get what I mean. So LinkedIn, setting up your profile properly in order for you to what do you call this, attract searches that are more in line with what you want to do, because a lot of people, they'll have a LinkedIn profile, but because you haven't updated your skills, updated what it is that you do, it
Yes.
doesn't give you like the proper suggestions and stuff like that. So yeah, try and utilize LinkedIn. Also, there's, if you actually Google, there'll be sites like Abo, Indeed, and all those, if you want to go to that granular level. But you should not just take that for face value. You can look at that and then go back and go to the actual site of the company that you've been directed from. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then also you can break down a list of companies that you are maybe interested in, and then go to their careers portal and just see like if they have openings or when they will have openings, so that it also helps for you to do that early. So for example, let's say in the beginning of your fourth year, for example, you are looking at when will their positions be open for the graduate program that you want to apply for. So then you know in October, if it's March, you are ready and you are sending in your stuff. So yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then what would you advise in terms of like working with the team that you work with? Like how would you advise that you gel with people, and also how you learn, you know, because it is like, as much as yes, it's a space where you feel like yes, you want this, but you haven't studied for it. So how did you sort of, you know, integrate yourself in?
You ask questions, honestly. The one thing that's nice about being in a graduate program is that you don't have, I know we feel like you have to come in and impress everybody and wow them. I've found that people that come in with the mentality that I'm so smart, I'm here to prove to you guys how smart I am, I'm gonna outshine y'all, you know, it kind of pushes people back a bit, because they look at you and they go, okay, so if you know everything, then what do I need to like teach you?
Yeah.
So, you know, go in with that humble heart. Even if you do feel like you're the smartest person in the room, ask as much as you can. Try and spend as much time trying to drill down on what do people actually do, and then you will see the how do they do it. So for me, it's ask questions, ask. If you're not asking questions and you're trying to prove, like if they give you a piece of work, you should at least ask 10 questions on that piece of work instead of running on your own and trying to prove, Kuti, I know how to do this. Because you might go and you waste your time because you come back and they say, this is not what I asked for.
Yeah.
And you wasted your time because now when you wanted to prove yourself. So
Yes.
ask questions.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And in terms of people dynamics, how do you manage that?
So people dynamics, for me, there's always going to be politics. There's always going to be work politics. Keep your mind clear and keep your end goal in mind, and try by all means not to get sucked into that, because it might cloud your judgment to the point that you're not even learning from certain people because so-and-so has told you this and so-and-so has told you that about, oh, that person is like this and that. Just, for me, I don't see why at this point in my career I would need to be pulled into that. So by all means, I try to stay away from that. Just be nice to everybody, be nice to anyone who's, it's not necessary. Like that's how I feel at this point in my career. I don't know, maybe somewhere down the line, you might need to play the games of politics, so is life. But at this point, like really, it might do more damage in the sense that it blocks you from learning what you need to be learning. Yeah,
I completely hear you. And then what do you, in terms of like being intentional about your career? So obviously in a graduate program, you're getting placed in different places, and then eventually you're saying you get placed in the place that you want. So how would you advise someone to be very intentional about, knowing what they want, and also just being intentional about their career going forward?
Yeah, I will say, know when to say no. So I've had to, for example, for me, I had to push back on some rotations because I really didn't see how it fits into exactly what I was trying to do on a day-to-day basis. So I had to say, maybe, yes, I'd love to see what that team does on an overview kind of basis, not the nitty-gritties, the everyday of it. So maybe let's cut down this rotation and let's spend more time on that rotation. And if you can, as I said, if you can back it up, no one will say no. No one will say no. Don't be afraid to speak up when it comes to your career, because at the end of the day, you are the one, who's in charge of it. No one sits in the office and thinks about Noluthando's career. I wonder what we should do today about Noluthando's career. You're the only one, and you're the only one who can drive it. Yeah,
that's very true. And what would you say you've learned so far in your process, like of your career, that you would impart to someone else?
Yeah, that what we just spoke about now, of being in charge of your own career, you need to fight for it. Because as I said, no one sits around thinking about you. You need to be in the front line, screaming and shouting that I want to do this, I want to do that, I think I'm ready for this, I think I'm ready for that. Because if you don't put yourself in the front line, no one will know. No one will know. And if I'm so used to seeing you doing one thing, for example, if you're a singer, if I'm so used to you singing, I don't think about you being a dancer until you come out and you say, hey, I want to be a dancer. So unless you scream and shout on what you want, that's the one thing I think is so important.
No one's coming to help you.
No one's coming. No one's coming.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. And in terms of what you do on a daily basis, say someone wants to get into this, like what does your day-to-day look like and what does it involve?
Yeah. So for me, I'm in the financial market space, as I said. My day-to-day involves keeping in track or keeping track of what is going on in the financial market space. So walk in the morning, you're looking at where our market's tracking, what our market's doing. Clients want to know what's going on in the market. What's your view? So yeah, for me, it's literally my whole day centers around financial markets and, dealing with clients and
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Nah.
And then so, I mean, yes, it involves looking at financial markets, but like for someone like me, like I'm like, what is that? Like what are like, what are financial markets? So can you explain that a little bit further? Yeah.
So it depends on the space that you're in. So you might be in the equity space, you might be in the currency space, you might be in the bonds market. So depending on the product that you are dealing with, you're most likely going to be keeping track on what's going on in that space on a more granular level. But all in all, you're keeping track of what's going on in and around you. So financial markets essentially operates on news. Can you hear that? Can you hear that?
I did.
It's gonna be loud. It's about to be very loud.
Okay.
So anyways, it all works around or is surrounded on news. So when Trump tweets something, your next move is what is this gonna affect? Is this gonna affect equities? How is this gonna affect currency? How is this going to affect the bond market? So essentially it's news, how news feeds into certain products, and how we can either market that to the clients or use that to help a client that might be in that space. So I don't know if that makes a bit more sense.
It does. So, I mean, you've said everything about, no one is coming to help you. You need to, take charge of your own career. So what would you advise someone who's maybe shy or someone who's not, as confident in being like, intentional about their career and like, this is what I want.
Yeah.
I want to take risks, outside of my, what I've learned and studied.
Yeah. So, as I say, one thing I wished someone had told me was to focus on my strengths and, not chase the other things, the glitz, the glamour, like, oh, Danam, you must be Dogotela and all these things. Focus on your strengths. And once you focus on your strengths, you'll find that it will be much easier for you to climb because A, you're enjoying it, and B, you're actually showing off your personal best. So do focus on your strengths, and if your strengths are even in music, go do music. If your strengths are in dancing, go do dancing. You don't have to follow the norm, even with your career in your corporate space. If you feel like, because we all want to go for this the top tier positions, what about the people who are making it as head of support, for example? So like, be critical in like how you think about it. Don't think about it from a outside perspective of what are people gonna view me as or whatnot. Think about what works for you, what works for your lifestyle, and what are you going to want to excel in. And
I think that's amazing advice. I think you've definitely dropped lots of pearls of wisdom, and I think a lot of people will learn from this. So thank you so much for taking your time to do this, because I think a lot of people, right now are looking for jobs and, sort of want a way to figure out how to go after what they want. So thank you for your time.
No, thank you, Thando. Thank you for putting out this information for people. Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right.
Alrighty. Cheers.